In our readings today, one thing seems clear. God doesn't want us to be afraid, especially if we're trying to do the right thing and live the right way. Fear no one, Jesus says to his disciples in Matthew's Gospel. The Lord is with me, a mighty champion. Jeremiah the prophet says in our first reading as his enemies surround him. And Jeremiah is an interesting prophet. If you look at the times and circumstances in which he lived, you can see why he's so often afraid. Jeremiah had the misfortune of living at a time when everyone was convinced that things were on the right track and no one questioned it, except him. The kings in Judea were smart and popular. Their advisors unanimously backed them. Their armies were loyal. Public opinion was at their side, almost 99%, except for Jeremiah, who spoke against the king's policies and questioned their advisors and scolded their soldiers and predicted the destruction of their kingdom if they continued that way. So what would you do with someone like that? They decided to bury Jeremiah in a deep cistern where no one could hear him, and eventually he would die. He was only saved because someone says he shouldn't die. His voice should be heard. But he was never popular. Well, shortly afterwards, as he predicted, Jerusalem was leveled to the ground by the Babylonians in 586 BC. Most of its population sent as slaves to Babylon. But it's interesting that Jeremiah never gets credit for telling the truth during his lifetime. Only afterwards. People looking back, they say, that fellow was right. He wasn't afraid to speak the truth. And that's what Jeremiah did. He spoke the truth. But his truth-telling was hard. It got him into trouble. It made him unpopular. He never gets credit for it. And he complained to God about this. We all want to be liked. But deep down, he knew he was doing what God wanted him to do. God was standing at his side. So what about us? I'm sure most of us find it hard sometimes to speak up when something's obviously wrong. It's hard to defend someone who's being smeared by gossip. We know what it means to be afraid to say what we have to say, especially when you're not going to get any credit for it. And that's what Jeremiah realized. When you do that, you're speaking for God. So there should be a little Jeremiah in all of us, right?